If you're ready to take back control of your health, you are in the right place. Welcome to Awaken Wellness with me, Tanya Candy, registered nurse and health coach. Now, I'm not your typical nurse. I consider myself divorced from traditional healthcare. I broke free of the sick care system in 2019 when I realized that the root cause to my sickness, my autoimmune disease, and my chronic pain was me. If you're ready for truth, for clarity, for honesty in a tough, love, compassionate way, I'm the coach for you. Join me while we dig into our root causes of sickness and disease. Right. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is nice to see you. Got the wiggles, got to get all settled in wherever you're at today, live or on the replay. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. That would be awesome. So we are live for open office hours today. I don't know about you, but I'm still in New Year phase. And for me, the subject that we're talking about today has been something that I still struggle with. And that is making goals. Making goals and what that looks like versus getting caught in like a guilt and shame mentality. Goals are great, but they can also make us feel shameful when we don't complete them. Or there is a word called toxic shame that sometimes overachievers really get caught up in that cycle of toxic shame. So, all right, let's just slow it down for a minute. What I want to talk about is not surface level motivation. It's not rah rah cheerleader, meet your goals, hustle harder. That I don't know about you, but I'm Gen X, and we really have been. We were raised in that hustle harder, work 2 jobs, have the kids, have the career, do all the things, right? So it's hard for us Gen Xers to come out of that hustle harder mentality. Now, then we're super annoyed by people who don't hustle, like those really laid back, it just chillaxed kind of people, right? I don't know about you. Get in the comments, let me know. Do they drive you crazy like they can drive me crazy? But it's not about them. That's about me and my personality. That's a hole in my personality, right? So the conversation, this is a grown-up conversation. If I offend you at all, I apologize in advance, but that is your choice to take offense to what I may or may not say. If you find yourself in the conversation, you are my people. Like attracts like. So in a grown-up conversation, again, especially for the overachievers out there, the busy professionals who are tired, they're wore out, they're exhausted. So if that's you, if you're watching this and thinking, yeah, goals, I know how to set goals, I want you to stay with me anyway, because this isn't about what you know, it's about why knowing hasn't been enough. Okay, we're going to be talking about goals. Maybe you sit down every year and you set those goals. Maybe you used to. Maybe you pretended to. Like wherever you're at with that. Even on the replay, drop some comments. Let's get some conversation going. So starting with here, do I think we need goals? I do. I really do. I think we need short-term goals, long-term goals. I think we need different categories of goals. Goals for your health, goals for your life, goals for your career, goals kind of for your kids in that place where you still have some control over that. So, always thinking about what you want. Number one, even as a hairdresser, I always used to say, people would come in, they sit in my chair, and they say, well, I don't know what I want. Like, that is the worst thing you can say to a hairdresser. And I never, even as a 20-year-old, person behind the chair, I didn't let that spin me out. I had enough emotional intelligence, even way back then, to say, okay, so how about you tell me what you do want? Because I never wanted to be the one to decide what hair you were going to leave with, because at the end of the day, if you didn't like it, I didn't want that on me. I want that to be your decision. And that's how I am here at Awaken Wellness. I will help you navigate choices, but at the end of the day, the decision needs to be yours. The goal needs to be yours. You can't get to where you're going on my motivation. Even like salvation, you cannot get to heaven on your parents' salvation. Your kids cannot get to heaven on your salvation, right? So as a coach, I'm here to help you sort out these options. I'm here to give you actionable steps. But in the end, you ultimately have to buy in to the process and make it yours for those outcomes to stick. So back to that story. When I was cutting hair, people will say, I don't know what I want. And I would say, okay, let's get out some books and find me a picture of something that you like. Or I would say, well, let's start with what you don't want. Most people know when it's their hair, their vehicle, how their kids are going to act. We all know what we don't want. That's a lot easier to define than what we do want. So think about your health that way. You know what you don't want, right? You don't want to have cancer. You don't want to have autoimmune disease. You don't want to be 50 pounds overweight. You don't want the chronic diseases that your grandparents had, that your parents had. We all know what we don't want. And when we say we want health, we want to be healthy, we want wellness, that's too big. What does that mean? What does that mean? How do you define being healthy? Is it about your weight? Is it about the texture of your skin? Is it about your energy level? So those are things you need to know. That's part of the goal setting process. What does health look like? What are your goals? Again, if you don't define that, if you don't know what you want out of anything, whether it's a new job you took, and what's that top level? What are your options to advance in that job? If it's your savings account or your investment options, if you don't know what your options are, you always start somewhere. You come in and then you want to know where and what you can work up to. Your health is the same way. You can't walk in and change 30 years worth of bad habits all at once. You have to have an entry point and you have to have a goal. Where do you want to be in the next year? Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? So always thinking. And it's really good to have that mentor, or it's really good to have, somebody who's 20 years older than you, that is in your mind that picture of how you want to be. Whether, again, it's a mentor at your work, or it's just someone who is maybe celebrity status, or maybe it's your grandma that is still healthy and still fit, and someone that you can visually encompass. You can see yourself being like them. Super important in that goal setting process. So that's the part that's not controversial. Like, everybody gets that. We may not really get it, or we may not really implement it, but we get that. It makes sense. Here's the part that nobody really talks about, that dangerous place that goals can take us, especially if you're wired like me. Like attracts like. If you're listening to me, there's a good chance we have same personality types. We have the same health history, and we maybe have similar goals. The dangerous part of goals, especially when you're kind of an overachiever, high capacity, high functioning, responsible, driven, you care a lot about outcomes, about those markers. You care about moving up the ladder. You care about the social ladder. You care about your work. You care about being in on the trends, like you're in the here and now. That's how I am. I care about all those things because I'm wired kind of as that workaholic overachiever. So goals don't just live in your mind, they live in your nervous system. And that is where things get sticky. That's where we stop really understanding because it's neuroscience. It's not here. It's not something that we can erase or copy and paste or any of that. It's living in our nervous system. Those old things since we were kids that are embedded that make our personality. It's all alive and well. Your history, your success, your failures is all alive and well in your nervous system. Somewhere along the way, your body learned these patterns, not consciously, and not because you chose it, but through repetition. You set a goal, you get excited, you go after it, you go for that goal. Then life happens. And when you're female, there is that 28-day cycle you live on where your hormones are working in your favor and everything is good and you're excited and you have energy and you're remodeling your house or you started a new workout program and then you plateau and then poof, it's downhill and your give a shit's broken. So that is part of it. And that's part of your mental behavior, your nervous system behavior, all wrapped up even in your hormonal patterns, in your hormonal cycles. Life happens, the years go by, cellular depletion, schedules, commitments, and pretty soon your body is just not cooperating. Pretty soon, if you're like me, you woke up 40 or 50 going, what happened? How did I get here? When I look in the mirror, the truth that I see is not the same truth that I have here, that my nervous system thinks, that my mental thinks. And when I see that saggy body in the mirror, my nervous system does not recognize what it sees in the mirror. That's not how it works. Sometimes, instead of adjusting those goals, instead of scaling back, instead of redefining what things should be, you quit. Maybe you quit. And then what do? Overachievers do this best. You beat the hell out of yourself, mentally and emotionally. And more than likely, you don't even realize that you're doing it. But you've got that bad taste in your mouth. Maybe you're like me and you tend to be good out of the gate, full of great ideas, but not much for stamina, not much for the long haul. Some of that is because a new shiny object came along and you were squirrel on to the next thing. But some of it is because you put it out there, it didn't quite work, it didn't quite land like you wanted it to. So you thought it wasn't worth it. You gave up too easy. instead of going back around, reinventing your enthusiasm and trying again. We tend to replay the negative, right? Out of all the people that I've met, I used to work in corrections as a nurse. And if you follow me, you've heard me say similar stories. Most people who are in poor situations with their life choices, most of them, or anybody for that matter, maybe the narcissists have that internal cheerleader that is, woohoo, you rock, you're awesome, you're doing it all right, right? Maybe that's what happens in a narcissist's head. Maybe that's why they're a narcissist. Most of us have got that negative, that is in our subconscious, that is, you aren't good enough, you aren't pretty enough, you aren't skinny enough, you aren't successful enough, right? Oh, sure, it's January. Remember last January, you started a workout routine that lasted for 2 weeks. Or, oh, it's spring. Yeah, remember last spring you started a workout routine that lasted 2 weeks. Oh, yeah. You remember that program you bought? You spent good money on that. Remember, you didn't even open it. Yeah, that's what we hear in our head, is that voice that's constantly reminding us what we failed, what we aspired to do, and what we failed. That is what the true work, where the true work needs to be done, is there. And it's nothing that anybody has done to us. It is the overachiever, or obviously there's higher functioning overachievers than I that are more successful, that have done more, right? We get caught up in that game of measuring our outcomes against our mentors or people who we look up to. Again, these things can be super dangerous to your spirit and to your nervous system. For some people, having high hopes is risky, like the biggest investment they'll ever make, because there's been so many failures that they forget what hope really is. They forget that they are the author of their own hope, of their own aspirations. You get where you're afraid to make a goal because goals lead to disappointment. Goals lead to you beating yourself up. And maybe you had parents that you never really felt like you could do enough for, or they were never really proud of you. And that's a whole different personality type. That one is not me, but I do get what that is, when it's that toxic shame, and that's not probably in most cases true, that you couldn't make your parents happy. That's just how your heart perceived the situation. It was your love language of receiving love versus their love language of giving love. And those things, even as adults, that's why therapists are there to help you work those things out. Whether you got in early and you had somebody help work these things out when you were young, or whether you're coming in late, it's never too late to seek help, even to understand your own personality, to understand whether you like Enneagrams. Those are kind of fun, or human design. Those things are all kind of fun to help you understand you better. There's so many books, so many awesome professionals, and I do know a few. If you're watching this live or on the replay and you'd like a couple of names, just message me and I will dig into my resources and give you some names of either books, if you're a self-help kind of person, or some therapists that you can help work these things out and get, so you can set a goal again and feel good about it. Whether you meet it or not, you can still feel good about you. A lot of that goes back to muscle memory, again, from way back when we're repeatedly coming up with this thing we're going to do, and then it doesn't work out, right? Maybe like me right now, I'm always excited about some kind of product, whether it's my store and helping people. I love telling people about what I've learned and what I know. I really have an inner teacher in me that's somewhat hard to understand because it's not a definable teacher. It's not the normal mainstream teacher. Or for me, I tend to be in some kind of sales or promotion because I find something that I believe in. And that is my love language is sharing what I know, sharing what I'm using, sharing what I believe in. So for me, it's not really sales. It's my innate need to share the goodness that I know, right? And yes, sometimes it is my job, so I don't feel guilty about it. When you think about your finances and health, I've had to do some work with professional coaches myself to work on my money mindset. But in reality, dollars that I earn or you earn, if you're in like the health space, the dollars behind it, the income is just a financial scorecard for the number of people that we help. That is how I've come to think about it, and has helped me with my goals and tying these two things together. So again, if you would like to know more about that and how to develop your thinking, maybe in a different way, whether it's about your health, whether it's about your wealth, or whether it's about combining the two, reach out to me. I'd love to work with you one-on-one. Okay, let me get back on track. So here's the part that gets harder with age. The older you get, the more times you've done the start, fail loop, the harder it gets to make yourself try again. Right? Do you feel me? If you're in the comments, let me know. The older you get, whether it's that lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, or whether it's find a new friend, get all excited. Oh, they turned out to be a real person and go back around. Or find a new job, you're the new kid, you're all excited. And then, oh, nobody there really wants to hear your ideas. And then, pooh, there you lose your energy and you go back around. Maybe you find a new eating program and you're all excited and your family's like, oh, great. Now we're going to be carnivore this year. Last year we were vegan. And your family's like, oh, no, we're not doing it again. Just because you want to be crazy and do something new, we don't want to be. So as the head of your household, you're like, maybe your husband should be the head of your household, but the household is your territory, right? Is your castle. You're the queen of your castle. So that can be really hard, right? If you've been dragging your family around on this roller coaster, they get really tired of it and can give you a lot of negative feedback. So I'm saying get back on the roller coaster. Try again. At first you don't succeed. Try again. Find safety in your nervous system that allows you to keep trying. Do not fall into a shame spiral. Let it go. Shake it off. Recover quickly and try again. So by midlife, what? Did you quit trying? Right? And things started getting harder. Your body doesn't respond anymore like it did when you were 18. The gas in your adrenal gas tank is precious, right? You're not just going to blow a whole tank of adrenaline on an argument or on coworkers. Like you really start to pick and choose who and what in your life is important. Fail, start, fail, start. By midlife, you're not just tired, you're conditioned to live in this cycle. And that's when people say, like, my give a shit is just broken. Or whatever, I don't care. Do what you want. I just don't care anymore. Have you heard yourself say that? I'm tired. I'm tired of starting over. Do you feel that? So let me say this super clear. Your give a shit is not broken. Burned out, maybe, but it's not broken. Because every time you cared, it cost you emotional energy. That too is stored in your body. Your body keeps score. Your nervous systems keep score. So if your nervous system did the smartest thing that it could ever do, it would pull the emergency brake. Ooh, do a cookie, right? Picture that, your nervous system. If it could stop you dead in your tracks, pull that e-brake and flip you around, maybe that has happened. Think about it. Those are those times that you randomly get the flu and you can't get off your couch for 2 days. And nobody else in your house is sick. Nobody else in your house caught it. That was your nervous system pulling your emergency brake and saying, lady, if you ain't going to rest, we're going to make you pull the brake, right? Yeah, that lands, doesn't it? It really does. At this point in life, those motivating factors don't motivate anymore. You are not finding motivation in the same things. 1, because you wore them out, and 2, because your stage of life is different. This is why inspirational quotes don't hit like they used to. This is why you just feel blah and dull, right? This is why you scroll past those emotional, sappy posts. You just don't want to be drawn in. And your body doesn't believe in that stuff anymore because your body remembers. Last time we tried, it hurt. Last time we set goals, it didn't work out. It hurt. We are in a state of mourning those could have beens, should have beens, would have beens. So here's a real problem. You don't fail because you didn't want it badly enough. You fail because your nervous system no longer trusts you. That is huge. Super hard to define, but if you hear what I'm saying, I think it will resonate with you. And if we don't name it, if we don't recognize it, we will keep in this cycle. We will keep blaming ourselves for something that isn't a moral failure. This is when perfectionism shows up. Because if you can't do it perfectly, you just don't try because you don't want to fail. So it keeps you in a state of doing nothing, right? You either 1, do everything exactly right, or 2, do nothing at all. For a lot of people, those are your choices. Both keep you stuck. So perfectionism is not high standards. Perfectionism is a fear. Perfectionism is fear in a fancy outfit. Now, I have to say, I consider myself pretty blessed because I'm really not a perfectionist. I am that person still, even after all my failures. I do feel like I found some success. I love where I'm at in life. I love Awakened Wellness. I love my business. But I didn't arrive here overnight. I did arrive here because I refuse to live in a state of fear. And I know years ago, a lot of prayer and a lot of fasting is the only way I got there. Now, I'm not big, fancy, important, like you might know who I am, but the next person on the street doesn't know who I am. I don't desire fame. I desire my people, my crowd, who is called to be quantumly entangled with me, who I'm called to speak to. Now, when I set out to do something, a lot of times there's like really no goal. Even now, when I'm working with my business coach, I hate goals. A lot of times I don't even know what my numbers are. That's just not it's not my anointing, right? I operate in let's just try the shit and see what happens kind of mindset, not fear. I'm just willing to try to see what happens and to learn from my mistakes as I'm working through them. And because of that, I do grow and I change and I'm open minded to looking at new methodology, to hearing other people's opinions, and to assuming that I'm not right about everything. And I love that I will be someone different next year. If you would have told me, the 30-year-old me, that this is where I would be at 53, I would have laughed you out of the building. I would have never ever believed it. This was not a goal of mine. I had no idea. Or the high school me, like the senior, if you would have if anybody would have given me some prophecy or predicted and told me this is what the 53-year-old me would be doing, no. No, I would have never believed it. Not even for $1 million, they couldn't have sold me the idea that this is where I would be today. And I love that. I love that. Honestly, I don't know what the 60-year-old me will be doing. I I do not have that goal set. I don't know what the 60-year-old me will be doing. Let me get back on track. Let's talk about shame. Because when you're talking about goals, we have to address shame attached to the goals, not the met goals, but the unmet goals. Shame sneaks in disguised as accountability. It sounds like I should know better. I've already tried this. What's wrong with me? Why does this work for everyone else? Why can other people do this and I can't? That shame feels productive, but it's corrosive. It's like oxidative stress. It's like rusting on the inside. And shame does not motivate you to change. It creates the freeze. So in the nervous system, you've got your fight or flight that gets you the gas in your gas tank and the adrenaline to get through the day. And then you've got your rest and digest. And then you've got your freeze. When overachievers really get easily caught up in that shame, they also, their nervous system gets caught up in freeze. And the freeze is almost worse because your fight or flight, your rest and digest, you've lost that flexibility. You're not flexing from even time of day between those things. say that's why mealtime, sitting and relaxing is so important if you expect to digest anything. So, like if you're busy, go, 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 go. If you don't take the time to do a little deep breathing, do a little prepping, sit down, calm down, eat your food is just going to go through you and out the toilet, or it's going to give you that rock solid gut ache, right? That's what we blame that gut ache on. Not necessarily food allergies, not first anyway. That first thing we blame that gut ache, that bloating, is your nervous system. You lost that flexibility to go in between rest and digest and go. Gas break. When there's dysfunction in that HPA axis, you get freeze. Your nervous system freezes. When you're frozen, your vagal tone suffers, your digestion suffers, and your sleep, your mental health is all going to trickle in, right? It's harder to regulate your hormones. It's harder to regulate your weight. All of these things are connected. It's all connected. When the body freezes, you don't move forward. You avoid, you become numb, and you just kind of disengage, even from your family, from the things that you enjoy. When people say, I just can't seem to follow through, what they're really saying is, my nervous system is overwhelmed and unregulated. No amount of willpower fixes that. This is why goals alone are not enough. Goals without a plan become another year that the sick you beats yourself up. Goals without support are another reminder of what you didn't do, what you didn't accomplish. Goals without structure become shame factories. So here's the reframe, right? All that sounded a little bit, negative Nancy. But here's the reframe. It's not too late. Real change happens in motion, not when you're standing still. Not in perfect motion, not necessarily in inspired motion, but always in forward motion. One foot in front of the other. Baby steps, forward motion. Doing something right, not everything right. This is where investing in a plan matters. And this is where having a coach to help you walk through this matters. Not because you're incapable, absolutely not because you're incapable, but because you need external structure, while your internal trust in yourself, in your abilities, is being rebuilt. Think about it like this. You've been burned enough times that you don't trust yourself to lead the process anymore. And that's okay. It's actually really honest. When you can finally see that and admit that out loud, that's where that honest place really hits. When you work with a coach like me or somebody else, you're kind of outsourcing some of that responsibility. You're borrowing regulation from the tools that you're giving in the coaching program. You're borrowing perspective. You're borrowing consistency. You're borrowing someone else's nervous system until yours can catch up. Inside my program, The Great Health Reset, we do all of this, but we don't do an all or nothing program. We don't do punishment. We don't do shame spirals, but we do priority. We do what matters first. We do what matters second. And doing the right thing at the wrong time still burns you out, still burns people out. And yes, there is absolutely accountability, but it's clean accountability. It's not someone yelling at you. It's not someone micromanaging you. It's not something saying, this is the next right step. This is enough for today. We're not skipping this step, even if it feels uncomfortable. You're still the boss. You've always been the boss, but we're going to make you feel like the boss again. That's where you get your power back. When you have that infrastructure, when you feel stable again. Here's another truth nobody likes to admit. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens when somebody sees your patterns and lovingly refuses to let you stay there. That's the difference between information and transformation. So if you're sitting there thinking, I have tried everything, I want you to hear this. You haven't tried this version of you yet. There is more of you to discover, I promise. You haven't tried change without punishment. You haven't tried consistency without pressure. You haven't tried structure without rigidity. And you definitely haven't tried it inside a regulated group coaching container. So your body doesn't need more pressure. Your body needs safety plus direction. And that, my friend, is the sweet spot. If your give a shit feels like it's broken, it's not failure. It is a signal. It's a signal that the white knuckling needs to be over. It's a signal that doing it alone is not working. And that the next season requires a different approach. So this is exactly why my program, The Great Health Reset, exists. Not for perfect people, not for disciplined robots, for real human who are ready to move forward without beating themselves up. Now, if this really landed with you, stay with me. We're not rushing, we're rebuilding trust. And real sustainable trust happens in a community. It happens in a group. You can go to my website, awakenwellnessllc.com, and go under the virtual tab and go down to group programs. That page will explain to you my program called The Great Health Reset. Now, I am also, you'll see on Facebook, I've got a couple of ads running to get into my masterclass. And we'll talk more on this subject. I will let you in on some amazing offers. And if you want to work with me, you'll have a first class invitation at that time. So just check it out. Go to my website, browse around, and see how it feels. If you'd like to get to know me better, I'm an open book. I'm here every Wednesday. I go live about 1:15 Mountain Standard Time. I've got videos on YouTube. I am very much an open book. What you see is what you get. Working with me in person is pretty much just like this. I am who I am. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all your likes and shares. I would love it if you like, share, follow, and leave a 5-star review on any platform. Google, leave a recommendation on YouTube. I am building a channel that is called Awaken Wellness TV. I'd love to have you over there. I hope you have an amazing 2026. We're ending January, if you can believe it already. And I would love to see you in the Great Health Reset next month.